first known rules of golf were drawn up in 1744 by the Gentlemen Golfers of Edinburgh in Leith, Scotland. Since then the game has changed dramatically. Golf courses, equipment, and not least the rules. So where do I go when I want to learn about the rules of the game today? Well, I go to the Golf Rules Questions podcast with Blakey and Roscoe, of course. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of the Golf Rules Questions podcast.
Hey everyone, episode 62, Golf Rules Questions podcast coming at you right now. I'm Blakey, and with me is Stuart McPhee. Welcome back, Stuart.
Thank you, Blakey. Great to be here.
A regular on the GRQ podcast until you can find a better host.
Slowly but surely, I'm becoming a regular. That's good.
So, it should be, it's going well, and you've got a jam-packed, I say you, because you've put the agenda together today. Got a jam-packed episode 62 for us. But first of all, answer the GRQ OTW from episode 61 question is...
So the question was, Jerry hit his tee shot way left into some thick bushes, so he played a provisional, and which lands in the rough. He found his original ball within 3 minutes, but it was deep within the bushes and unplayable. His lateral and back on the relief options were equally impractical. So he decided really his only viable option was to return to the previous place play back to the tee. Having already played his provisional from the teeing area and to ensure he doesn't delay play any further, he plays his provisional ball from where it was lying and counts that as his fourth stroke. Was that permitted, or is that permitted? And I said to you after we stopped recording that podcast, I said to you, I shouldn't have said, is this permitted? I should have said, hit his fourth shot onto the green, two putted, what's his score for the hole? And then continued his round, what's his score for the hole? Because that would have made for much more interesting answers rather than a yes or no, is this permitted? But anyway, to my answer. So he's found his original within 3 minutes. What two words, Blakey, would you use to describe his provisional ball now?
Abandoned ball.
Abandoned or wrong ball.
No,
So now, and therefore he has hit a wrong ball, even though he had hit it originally and it was sort of his for a little while as a provisional. But by hitting that provisional ball, he's actually hit a wrong ball. And if he continues to play the hole and then tees off on the next hole, then he's got some issues, because then he would be disqualified. You can certainly complete a hole by playing from a wrong place, but you cannot complete a hole by playing with a wrong ball, which is what he did in a nutshell.
Spot on. Nice. So he has to correct his mistake.
Yeah, add 2 penalty strokes in stroke play and correct his error, correct his mistake. Yeah.
What if he doesn't correct his error?
Well, if he tees off on the next hole, he's got an issue, and he'll have a big DQ beside his name.
Yeah. What if it's a stablefooter round?
I would think that's the same thing.
It's a DQ.
He's saying he's just wiped for the hole, right? Yes, of course. Yes, sorry.
And
he's just wiped the hole. Yes.
And what happens if it's the 18th hole?
Before you return your scorecard, you still need to correct it.
Yeah, correct. That's it used to be walking off the last putting green, but now it's returning your scorecard, which is better actually. I think it's a lot better. Imagine if you're 2 steps, like you're this far away from the putting green, and you're like, oh,
hang on a
I've
second,
hit a wrong ball, or I've done something which is DQ, and you're like, oh, well, where's the putting green, or
yes, yeah,
whatever.
I didn't realise that.
It's a much better one the way they've written it these days.
I mean, imagine going back, 3 groups have finished since you, and you go, hang on, I put my scorecard. I just need to walk back out onto the 18th fairway and fix it. And you sort of get yourself in between 2 groups.
Yeah.
Try to fix the problem. Imagine that. Anyway.
Yeah. It would be a lot easier at some clubs than others.
Of course. And if it was, as you said, just a stableford, then you just wipe the hole.
Yeah, that's right. Stableford or par, just wipe the hole. Maximum
score.
Maximum score. Very good. How's your weekend been so far, Stuart?
Not as busy as yours, but all good. Played golf yesterday. Not just starting to get back into some form. It was a 4-ball yesterday. So it was just interesting just thinking about the rules, because I was asked about a couple of things yesterday about, can you give advice? Can you breach 10.2 and all this sort of stuff, and standing on the line and all this business. So Anyway, good to play some golf.
Do you guys play a concurrent Stalford or individual game at the same time, or you just play the 4-ball?
Correct.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Just stick with the club event of the day and just go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So did you guys win, lose, draw?
I must say my partner struggled a little bit, and I mean, the winning score was 49, which I thought was phenomenal.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
I mean, that's 2.75 almost per hole. It's almost 3 a hole. It's pretty good going.
That is very good. That is very good. Unless it was an aggregate Stalford, and then that's pretty bad.
Yes.
Or an Irish multiplier. Have you played the Irish Stalford?
Is that multiplier?
Yeah. Well,
I do. I can't say I like it, but yes, I've certainly played a few of those.
Oh, how fun is it? I think I've had a 15 on one hole, and then
I've had a 20. I've had a 20.
Wow, a 4 and a 5.
Only because I pushed the tee up on a par 4, making it a drivable par 4. One guy eagled it, and I actually chipped in from the back for a 3. So I had a 3 for 4. He had a 2 for 5.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, but anyway, it's a lot of fun unless you have a few zeros, obviously.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So moving on, we've got a video. Rory's ball moving JT's ball in the fairway, which was at the Canadian Open.
Correct. So I think this was the first round, and Thomas's ball is already sitting in the middle of the fairway. So we start the video. This is on your YouTube channel. Start the video with Rory hitting his tee shot with an iron with a ball flight I wish I could emulate every single time I strike a golf ball. Just a beautiful ball flight, and sure enough, it hits the ground, just rolls a little bit and just hits Thomas's ball, moves it from where it was at rest. Obviously, Rory's ball comes to rest, and that's where, I mean, they probably didn't even see it, but enough people were there to say, oh, by the way, there's one hit the other and you need to sort it out. So I would, anyway, that's the scene. If you want to talk us through what the ruling is there, please, with Thomas's ball moving or being moved.
Yeah, well, they certainly took a lot of time to work out where the ball was at rest before it was moved by Justin's ball, Rory's ball.
Yep.
Justin's ball. Justin hit first, so it took a long time. Did they need to take that long? Well, there were a lot of divots around, so they're trying to work out exactly where Justin's ball was. I believe they had another camera angle that we never got to see that said it was definitely not in a divot. And then they called in a referee, and Mary Beth helped out with that one. I met Mary Beth in Argentina at the Youth World Cup, which was pretty cool. Lovely person. So she works for Golf Canada, was helping them out. And, they got it back to the position that estimate the position where it had come to rest before it was moved and play on from there.
So in summary, Blakey, so Rory's ball hits another ball and then comes to rest. Does anything happen to Rory's ball?
Rory plays it from... or plays it as it lies.
Okay, so Thomas's ball. Yeah, sorry.
That old term, rubber the green. They've taken it out, but it's we understand
the context,
and it still works, even though it's not in the rule book anymore. It still works, rubber the green. And then
Thomas's ball. So it was sitting there, and it's been moved by an outside influence. What happens to his ball?
Yeah, so his ball was moved by another ball, which is 9.6, rule 9.6, and he must replace it. But obviously, if you don't know exactly where it had been moved from, you just estimate it. So you still got to put it back, even if you don't know exactly where it was, where the location of it originally. You still got to put it back. And then you just estimate it. So it could be 2 inches. You think, oh, it must be 2 inches, or it could have been a foot, could have been 3 foot. So, if it lands on the fall, it would have cannoned away. So I think we've seen one of those in the video with Ricky Fowler and Jordan Spieth. Something similar happened to them about 5 years ago. So where it cannoned off the green. But yeah, you just replace it. And you play on, and then Rory didn't hit the best shot, but Justin managed to hit it close and make birdie. However, Rory went on to win that tournament, and I was actually in London at Live Golf when the Canadian Open was on, so certainly saw it across the pond, I think they call it.
Do you want to talk a little bit about, if you need to replace a ball on the spot, which Thomas did, but if it's not known, then a player can use reasonable judgment. I just found, you mentioned right from your start of your words, your comments were how long it actually took. Do you have any comments about? It's just there's a get out of jail free card. Reasonable judgment, even if it's proven later to be wrong. Did it take too long? I guess.
Who has the facts there? Well, the facts, Rory and Justin wouldn't have known anything, but they were just trying to make sure that it wasn't in a divot. Otherwise, they would have to replace it in the divot. And so they're just going on the spectators seeing. I actually had this similar situation happen. I was the observer for the Tiger Abraham Answer match in the President's Cup. It was the first match out on the Sunday in the singles. And same thing actually happened on the 17th hole of the West Course, which at the time was the ninth hole of the composite course. And we were up there close, and I can't remember. I don't know why I can't remember, but I can't remember. I think Tiger's ball was hit by Abraham Answer's ball, and so Tiger had to replace his ball, if my memory serves me correctly. So, and because of that, I just sort of walked over there, and the referee was sort of coming up, following the group. Didn't quite get there as quickly, and I just said, I'll show him where the ball was at rest, and I sort of got in there and just said, look, it was here. Again, I was like 40 metres away. It was an estimate. I sort of, when it happened, I was sort of trained on that spot and then walked over there. And, I could have been out by 2 inches. I could have been out by a foot, but that was a reasonable judgment by me. It wasn't necessarily to get cameras in there. They would have just slowed down play, and I'm not in for that. If one of them had said, "Oh no, that can't be right," then yeah, maybe I would have asked for a camera replay, but not really that necessary.
Happened to me yesterday on the 18th hole. My ball at rest on the green, a guy chipping on and knocked mine out of the way. So I've just, sort of stared at that spot where I know my ball was and just gone back and just whacked a tee in there and just replaced my ball pretty quickly and knew, based on this video that we just done, knew that, if not known estimate and reasonable judgment's okay and acceptable, knowing that, a few centimetres or millimetres out, it's not really that big a deal.
No. As long as it's that reasonable judgment, as you said, it's an estimation, And did you penalise yourself under 15.3 for that agreement, or?
Hang on, he's chipping off the green. We didn't agree to anything. It was certainly not a backstop. I was about 15 metres away from the hole, that's for sure.
Well, that's a pretty terrible shot by him then.
I didn't end up parring the 18th hole, so that was nice.
Oh, good.
Two putts.
It was your partner, wasn't it? And you just, No,
it wasn't. No, good question. No, it wasn't my partner in the 4-ball yesterday. Well, that's all we had, I think, on Rory's ball. I think how many times would that happen at club level and neither player would know?
If you've got an elevated green, it could happen a lot. And if the players never know, I get this question asked. If the players never know. Yeah, that's right. If you never know before you make the next stroke, then you never knew, and you can't be penalised for that.
What happens if that does happen? You've got a blind tee shots, and then you catch up with someone on the next hole, and they go, "Oh, did you put that ball back because Ralph hit your ball?" And you're going, "Actually, we've already finished that hole. We didn't even know." So that information wasn't known to them at the time.
No, that's right. You couldn't imagine penalising someone for that. I'd start making that up, I was kidding. I would not make that stuff up.
Especially if you knew someone was having a good day and you were having a good day too. And
did you replace that ball that was just beside the bunker?
All right, we'll deal with it the committee later. If we're done with Rory's, we can get on to your most recent video, and that's Victor Hovland at the Open Championship. you want to set the scene for this one?
I mean, the really cool thing about St Andrews, even though the ball and the driver beats it up, Cam Smith finished on -20. The cool thing is, if you do get in the bunkers, the pot bunkers, it's a real penalty, and they probably need more of them. I don't think they'll ever touch the old course, but they probably need a few more, and that would you put a few more pot bunkers in there, and people starting having to hit irons off the tee.
Yeah.
It rolls into them. Even if you land it here, it could kick on 40 metres. So I'm not saying touch the old course, but it certainly would help reduce the score. The other thing you could, I think it was perfect weather for 4 days. If it was bad weather, like it can be along that coast, then you're not going to get the -20 either. The wind. Oh, we've seen times when they've played there where it's howling a gale and it's going sideways. You've got to aim for a 40-meter cut and stuff like this. So, it was pretty benign conditions. It was rolling really fast. Anyway, Vic on this one short par 4, Victor Hovland hits a great drive, and it goes in one of the pot bunkers. And because their bunkers have such a steep vertical face, gets up to it. The ball was right behind the face. No way that he could just pop that straight up and out. So he decided to take an unplayable. He's got, as you said, you did the commentary on this one. He's got 4 options, 4 penalty options, 2 in the bunker, 1 back to the tee, and then 1 outside the bunker back on the line. And he opted for the back on the line inside the bunker for the 1-stroke penalty. So good option. He ended up saving his par.
He did. I did think the caddy maybe I'm being critical. They spent a bit of time talking about it, as in the caddy and player discussing their options. And obviously probably wiser heads prevailed in that no, not worth taking the risk of trying to, just turn this into a 7 or an 8. I was just interested in my initial thoughts on the referee. The referee was standing off to the side. There was 1 per group, I think, wasn't there? 1 referee per group.
Yes, there's always 1 per group in the first 2 days, and then as the groups get smaller, the amount of groups get smaller. The referees double up with the other groups.
So if you were with that group then, and that we're talking about the elite players in the world here, and you knew there were 4 options, do you not tell him about, oh, by the way, you can actually drop outside the bunker for an extra? I mean, that's sort of that one that helps, I think, more your club golfer get out of a bunker, get out of a precarious situation. Would you maybe not even mention that, just as a referee?
Yeah, an interesting situation, because when should the referee, is the referee there to speak only when spoken to, or is he there to get in there and give Victor a hand and give him all his options? To be honest, I'd sort of think that this was more a, if you know the guy, if you know Victor, you could maybe offer the 4 options. But if you don't know him, I'd stay back and just watch until he actually had a question for you.
I think knowing he is not going to drop out of the bunker for 2 penalty strokes, he's not going to do that. That would be his 4th option. No, I don't know. That's why I guess that's what I'm trying to get out of you is, I remember being taught you don't want to provide commentary. You don't provide commentary on the situation they're in, and you don't want to say, oh, here are your options, but I mean, you're not going to choose that one, are you? Not to get involved in that way and just be very clinical and objective. And I just find that particular option, which wasn't around 4 years ago, it's just, is it really tailored towards the elite golfer I don't think you'll ever find a professional golfer perhaps taking, maybe one day it'll happen, but just your attitude towards that player. If he says, all right, I want to take an unplayable, what are my options? Are you going to rattle off all 4?
I would, yes.
Yeah.
If he asked me, I'd rattle off all four. Is he going to choose that one? Probably not. But then, if it could be in a wet bunker and it could have plugged, it's less likelihood that it will plug dropping from the knee, but it could happen.
Yeah.
But I see your point. Do you offer something to someone who that rule was basically created for, the high handicapper, someone who really struggles with bunkers, kind of like the local rule E5, that you'd never see that on tour. And if you did, you'd sort of, you'd question the legitimacy of that tournament. But I'd still rattle it all off. You never know. You don't put your ability or assume what their ability is. But yeah, if I didn't, just going back there, if I didn't know them, I wouldn't offer up anything unless they asked me. And if I did know them, I'd just say, "Oh, do you want a hand with the four options?" If they said, "No, they're good," I'd be sweet. And if they said, "Oh, yeah, what are they?" I'd reel them off and go from there. But they took a fair amount of time, which sort of annoyed me because it seemed pretty easy. Everyone can say, "Oh, but it's big, it's championships, the Open." They're playing for their livelihood. Well, if you're really concerned about your livelihood, go and join Live. But it's just, it just seemed like they took a little bit too long of time for that. But it seemed pretty easy to see that he shouldn't play it, and the wise decision was made.
So if I can name drop as well. So when I did the Sandbelt Invitational, and there was a amateur playing with Jeff Ogilvy, and she's just short of the green, chipping on and skinnies her chip into the bushes at the back at Kingston Heath. And I just happened to be right there, couldn't play it, says to me, what are my options? The fact that her previous place play was only like 40 metres away, I rattled off quite easy. Well, you can go back to where you were, et cetera, et cetera. You would think that in Victor Hovland's case, the fact that his previous place played was like 300 plus yards away, it's highly unlikely he will take that option. It might be the last one you list, and you list them one by one, and he's digesting them as you go through them, and he might actually stop you. Okay, yeah, that's good. I'll take that one, sort of thing. Anyway,
it's really easy just to say, yep, go back to the tee, within 2 club lengths in the bunker, back on the line in the bunker, or back on the line outside the bunker.
Exactly.
Back on the line outside the bunker. Oh, yeah.
Is that a local rule? Yeah. Is that a local rule just for here? Just for
so I'm
this
chipping
week?
for par now. Actually, everyone hassles. No one reckons that Victor Hovland's chipping game's up to it at the moment. So he probably was definitely unlikely to choose that option.
I think there's certainly a bright future, that's for sure.
Yes,
Can I just make one comment about rules specific, certainly to the old course? And that is, I was surprised, being a latecomer to the game of golf and all these courses, I was surprised at the number of double greens on that course.
Surprised?
I didn't know much about it. Oh, we can move past that point. I can just introducing the fact that there are 7 double greens. There's only 4 holes that have their own green.
Yeah, all the double greens add up to 18. So apart from 1 and 17, which, well, they're not close enough to be to be a double green, but every other one, 2 and 16, 4 and 14, every other one adds up to 18.
18. So we've all played a course which has maybe a double green on it, and sometimes they'll use different colour flags to distinguish, or they'll have a sign somewhere saying you need to go to the flag on the left. Can you just run through, if you are in the unfortunate position of actually holing out in the wrong hole on that double green, and what you do, that simple rule?
Yeah, so if you hole out on the wrong hole on a double green, you're actually on the right green, but your ball is in a immovable obstruction or an abnormal course condition. It's not going to matter what we term it. It's the same thing, or it's the same treatment. So you can play it as it lies if you, I don't know, got a vacuum club or something. But the best bet is to place the ball at the nearest most. No, I roll that off so quickly, but it's not right. At the nearest spot, no closer to the hole, where you don't have interference with that abnormal course condition. So don't put it right behind the hole, so the hole is on your line. A, that's not going to be very helpful, and B, because you'd still have interference with your line of play, because you get line of play interference relief on the green, you'd actually cop a 2-shot penalty if you made the stroke, because you placed your ball in the wrong spot. So
it's literally just it's literally taking your ball out of that wrong hole and placing it beside the hole, no nearer the hole. Sorry, no near the real hole.
Yeah, that's right. It's just to the side. It's either over that side or this side. You choose. It'll be exactly the same.
Left or right-hander sort of thing.
Yeah, left or right. But a right-hander can still have the hole right in between their stance and their club if they really want to.
Yeah.
They might get a bit of. They might think, I get a better line that way or something.
Sure.
So that hole is ground under repair, abnormal course condition, immovable obstruction, whatever you want to call it, and there's no penalty for doing so.
Interesting that wrong ball has its own rule, 6.3c, but wrong hole doesn't have its own rule. But of course, as you just mentioned, we can find that in the definitions under ground under repair as a hole by maintenance staff.
Yeah, spot on. If it was a wrong hole in another green and a wrong green, then you're on a wrong green and you must take free relief.
Yeah. What happens if you don't hole out on the wrong hole, but now, as you mentioned before, it's now actually on your line of play on the same green. So you're on the double green, you just happen to the wrong hole is actually in your way on your line of play, but you're on the green though, so you have interference.
So you got interference by an immovable obstruction or ACC on your line of play on the green. You just find that it's like temporary water, basically. You find the nearest spot where you get complete relief for that line of play, and you place your ball there. And that it could be off the green, so it's not necessarily placing it on the putting surface. It could be that you place the ball in the general area,
wherever that nearest point is.
I mean, you don't have to take relief for that one. You can play it as a lies if you want, but the offer is there for a free relief.
Okay, very good. Obviously, those sort of guys at that level didn't have too many issues with holing out in the wrong hole or interference from a wrong hole, but just wanted to raise that, given that course had so many double greens on it.
Yeah, I think they didn't have too many tricky. I didn't find out all about the rulings this year, but they didn't have too many tricky rulings. But they said they were busy, so I guess they would have had a lot of probably a lot of not a lot, but they would have had line of sight TIOs. There's a lot of camera towers around there because it's the
a lot of grandstands, a lot of people.
I mean, a lot of the grandstands are out of bounds. So, so they wouldn't be too fine. But, if the grandstand is out of bounds, off the top of my head, it's not too bad. But if the grandstand's out of bounds, it's still a TIO and you still could get free relief if your ball was in bounds and you have interference with line of sight and line of play. But, because the fairways kind of merge, they've got to stick the TV towers somewhere, and so they probably have a lot of TIO stuff when the ball's flying or rolling so far. I don't know if anyone would have hit their ball out of bounds on the first, but I reckon someone might have hit their ball out of bounds on the 18th, which can easily done, even though you can aim out the first. It's a pretty wet, wild fairway. There definitely would have been people that hit the ball out of bounds on 17, so would have been great to be there, but maybe in 25 years' time.
Very good. So the two videos we've spoken about already, Rory and Victor. On both occasions, you mentioned time taken. Both of them, determining where Thomas's ball was to be replaced, and then Hovland and his caddy talking. So I just wanted to raise something that happened about a month ago at the Women's PGA when Lexi Thompson and her group were all penalised for slow play. And I just found it interesting that the penalty was a fine after the fact. Once the scorecards are in, and they were fined $2,000 each at an event where obviously they're in a position, they're in the final group to make more than that. Do you have a comment on, I don't think you need to comment on slow play. I think we know your views on that, but do you have a comment on fining, monetary or versus penalty strokes on the day?
Yeah, well, the LPGA's pace of play policy is if you're out of position, and they consider out of position determined by where you are in relation to the group in front. It's something like if your group haven't hit a tee shot on the par 3 and everyone has hit their tee shots on the next hole, then you're out of position. And then for a par 4, I think it's if you haven't hit a tee shot and they haven't hit a tee shot on the next hole, maybe, and then a par 5, it might have been if you haven't hit a tee shot and they have all finished putting or something like that. Then you're out of position. If you're out of position, the referee will come and give you your official warning, which, in my experience, doesn't seem to do much. And then the referees will monitor you after that. Not monitor. The referees will observe you after that. And if you get out of position again, they will start timing you, which was quite funny in this case. I think a lot of those groups were out of position, but they got onto timing that group with 2 or 3 holes to go.
Yeah, 2 holes to go.
Justin Thomas said, read the room, don't put them on clock. 3 holes short of that finish, which I thought was ridiculous. You know, they probably should have got on the clock earlier, but just things happen, or, you know, depends on the personnel as well. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I've seen some very slow golfers. Lexi's certainly one of them, and a fine is probably not enough. They need to start getting their penalty, stroke penalties. But if you get on the clock on the LPGA and then you do have a bad time, it's a 2-shot penalty, which they always think is a bit harsh. So I was thinking, well, if it's too harsh, why have you got it that way in the first place? Why don't you redesign it so that it's not like that at all? But if you do get put on the clock, you get a fine, a monetary fine. I think, how much was it, Stuart?
2,000.
2,000. That's a joke. It's some of these people don't get out of bed for less than 20, so 2,000 is nothing.
No.
Bit of a waste of time, that one.
Yeah, well, we know which will have more impact on the players, whether it be a fine or penalty strokes on that last day. I think everyone knows that. Just whether they want to implement.
Certainly on that last day, definitely.
And that was the last group.
Yeah.
I think I was going to raise Justin Thomas's comments, but you've actually addressed that, and his was along the lines of, as you said, 2 holes. What does it really matter? But doesn't matter. You've answered that. It actually does matter. It's more the principle.
Yeah, I mean, if you let them play as slow as they want to, people have to get home. It's an the professional golf is an entertainment business, and if no one's coming up the 18th because they're a hole out or 2 holes out, where's your entertainment? You need to be. It needs to be. We're seeing these days that that fast format in most other sports is really what people want to see, and golf seems to be going the other way. We seem to be allowing them to play as slow as they want. There's always situations where it's gonna, you're going to be put out, but they lose a ball and then they're searching, and then you got them on the clock, and then they search for another ball. Someone's having a really bad day. There's always going to be those kind of situations, but it's important to get onto them early and try and get them to keep up with the group in front at least.
I think there's that constant policing. They know it's an issue that's being taken seriously.
Yeah,
And they need to be mindful of it. As you say, they are in the entertainment business, whether they like it or not. If they don't want to be in it, then play at a lower level. You don't get as much money.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be getting. It seems to be the tail wagging the dog at the moment, but hopefully things can get fixed. You never know. Live Golf, although I don't have much hope in the fact that Live Golf will be playing fast. But the good thing is they only have one field, so you only got 5 hours and then you're done. Whereas, some of those 156 fields. I mean, the Open was a 1T start, 156. I think it was 14 hours from first tee to the last, which, they're 6 hour rounds for some people. So someone said that one hole took an hour to play, which is just unbelievable. Take an hour to play one hole. Anyway.
Okay. Find that difficult to believe.
I could play 9 holes in an
hour. Did you want to go through some community questions? How are we going for time? Would you like to go
absolutely.
through one or two? This is one from a few months ago regarding penalty areas. So this is when Andy, the average golfer, pulled his tee shot left into a red penalty area. He and his group searched for a little while, trying to find his ball. It may have been playable. Couldn't find it. And then decided, right, guys, where do you think I've gone in? Where's the last point cross into the red penalty area? They've identified or estimated that spot. He's then dropped using lateral relief, say, or back on the line. And then another person in his group finds his ball, which actually finding his ball has proven that the point they estimated where it last crossed was incorrect. So I was just wondering about his procedure to, what does he do? He's already dropped that ball sort of in play. He's already dropped, but they've found that perhaps that was incorrect. What do they do in that situation?
So what were our 4 options that we gave the crew?
One was he could go and play the ball that has been found. Another one was, the ball's in play, he needs to play that. Another one was, he's made a mistake where he's estimated where the last point crossed. He needs to perhaps choose a new reference point, which is based on where the original ball was found. There's probably 3 of them. I can't think of the 4th. But
disqualified, probably. We probably threw in disqualified.
Maybe.
I'd say the answer's C.
C?
Yeah.
Which one was that? I didn't put them in the right order, though.
Oh, I'd say the one where the original ball has now been found and they worked out that the spot where the ball crossed was not significantly, but a lot different from where Andy had estimated and dropped the ball. So he now needs to pick that ball up. Effectively, he hasn't done anything wrong. They've just found new information. It's sort of similar to what we were talking about before when, they found information before they made the next stroke that the ball had been moved. Well, in this case, they found information before the next stroke and they can fix it, that the estimation point was actually wrong. He didn't do it on purpose, but he just needs to fix his mistake and work out the new estimation point. In that case, like if you think about it practically from if you're out playing golf and you think of one of the holes that you play at Gardener's Run, that, if you get up there and you go, okay, I'll drop my ball, and then you find your ball and it's a metre to the side, you go, well, it definitely could have gone in exactly where my estimation point was. How am I to know? I'm estimating. But if it's a really, really big sort of change, you go, okay, I've dropped it in the wrong spot. Now, if you drop it, you play it, and then you find this information out, we haven't done anything wrong. So you just go and pick the original up if you want and carry on. You haven't done anything wrong. So that's under 7. It's an interpretation, I think, under 17.1. Have you got it off the top of your head, Stuart?
No, we're in the right area, obviously. 17.1.
This is.
I'm guessing it'll be under D for the options available.
Yeah. So so that's what you do. So that was a good one.
It's very few occasions
17.1 D3/2. There you go.
2, yeah. So very rarely do you actually drop a ball and then pick it back up again. assuming you have dropped
Yeah.
correctly, it's come to rest in the relief area. Very few situations where you go, actually, that ball's in. Oh no, I need to actually pick it up again.
Yep.
Doesn't happen very often, does it?
It doesn't happen very often, and even if it was supposed to happen, it wouldn't happen because no one really knows that rule. I also wanted to let everyone know that Andy, the average golfer, now has an official golf link handicap of 26.5. Well done, Andy, for getting out there, and he's actually a member at Wombat Hills. So great work, Andy.
Very good. Can I throw a couple more questions at you based on that interpretation? So now we've found out the information was incorrect. Oh, sorry, the reference point was incorrect, and we need to change the reference point. Could I change my relief option?
After you've dropped it?
Right, so I've dropped it using back on the line, and then I'm about to play, and someone goes, Andy, hang on a second. Are you playing a top flight 47? Yeah, that's me. And we realised that, in fact, his ball was another 20 metres further towards the hole than the reference point that he chose and where he had dropped and was about to play. And we've realised that the reference point was wrong. We've now found Andy's original ball. We've walked up 20 metres. Oh, well, it's obviously gone in here. Here's the new reference point. Can I now change, because I chose back on the line before, can I now take lateral relief with that new reference point?
Well, luckily for me, right at the bottom of this interpretation, it states, in doing so, the player must proceed under Rule 17.1 with respect to the correct reference point. So they can't go and decide to play the ball because they've already played and dropped a ball into play.
Proceeded.
Right? But they may use any relief option under that rule. So they could actually go back to the teeing area if they really wanted to.
Yep.
You know, they might find that their ball was further back there and that dropping area was going to be in the trees, and they go, back on the line sucks, lateral relief sucks, stroke and distance will be my best option.
I think probably if there was going to be a confusion with that rule, it would be if that original ball was found within 3 minutes, Andy might be inclined to go, actually, I can hit that out of there, even though he's dropped using the wrong reference point. Andy goes, well, I can actually hit that. You found it within 3 minutes. I might go and play it. But of course, we know that's. But I think that would be maybe a common misunderstanding.
Yeah,
found within 3 minutes. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Exactly right. Like 14.4. Once you have the intention to drop a ball back into play, that is the ball that is in play.
And as you said, even if the reference point chosen might have been wrong, we need to correct that, but you still must proceed under one of those 3 relief options.
Yeah, spot on.
And playing it is not one of them.
No, not that ball now that you've found more information out. Right. What Stuart believes his tee shot has reached the yellow penalty area. Question 91, community question 91. Go for it, Stuart.
So this was So this is when I've think I've gone in the yellow penalty area, had a bit of a look in there because I may have, just like Andy, I may have found it and been able to play it. And I've gone, well, I can't find it. It's clearly in there. So I've dropped back on the line from the yellow penalty area, and I've hit my ball onto the green. And then someone goes, are you playing your top flight 45 today? Yeah. And we've actually then found it in the yellow penalty area. And this question was just simply, could I, abandon the ball that's now sitting on the green after having taken relief and play my original ball that has now
been? We've got some issues there with Stuart's technology, but I think we ended up getting that one. So it's very similar to the one that we just covered. So you've dropped a ball. Undertaking relief under 17.1D, you've hit that, and then you found your original ball. Well, as soon as you drop the ball, that original ball becomes. What are the words that you use?
The original ball. It's a wrong ball.
Yeah,
is that what you said?
Go.
Well, you said abandon, but it's a wrong ball. Yeah.
I was wondering whether you'd say abandon or wrong. Anyway, it's the same thing. So That's a no, a big no. You can't go and play the other ball. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Now, I found out what that actually means. I was like, I never really understood. You can have your cake and eat it too. I was like, well, I can't. Well, if you've had your cake, if you've eaten your cake, you've had it as well. So but someone explained it to me that, well, you've got this cake, so you've got it, you have it. Once you eat it, you don't have it anymore. So you can't have it and eat it. You either have it or you eat it. If you eat it, you don't have it. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. I don't think I agree. No, I agree with it, but I don't think I liked it better than the one when I had no idea what it meant.
Ignorance is bliss, like so many players with the rules.
It seems stupid. Anyway, so with this one, if you've already put another ball into play, you can't have your original ball and eat it too. I mean, hit it too.
Okay, very good. Life lessons with Blakey.
Yeah, there we go. I'll open up another podcast. I might get a few more listeners. Right, so let's get into. So I think we covered that one. Let's get into the GRQ OTW for number 62, and then we'll sign off.
Okay, so here's my GRQ OTW for episode 62. So Fraser has a small stone located immediately behind his ball, which is lying in the bunker. Knowing he can remove loose impediments in the bunker, and after checking with his marker if he agrees, Fraser reaches down to remove it, and upon grabbing the stone, it breaks into many pieces, as it was actually a clump of sand, not a stone. What is the ruling?
Wow, good one. And we will leave you with that. I know David Grieve has had a crack at the last two, so please have another crack at that one, David. Number 62. Thank you, Stuart. Have you got any golf this week?
Usual Wednesday, Saturday.
Yeah, Wednesday. So, but you do have some your normal work. You do work, don't you, Stuart?
Occasionally.
If you haven't listened to my Love of Golf podcast, Stuart is what would you call yourself? A share market
currency trader.
Currency trader, share market entrepreneur, extraordinaire is what I was trying to say. So if you haven't listened to that, give a listen to it. But his new passion is the rules of golf, and he's
definitely
more than willing to help me out, which is amazing. So thank you very much, and hope everyone enjoyed that episode. I was a bit more upbeat this one. I think the other ones, when we do it, it's like 6 a.m. and I can't handle it. But that was a real cracker. So we'll get some more videos out there. We'll get some more community questions out there. I put in a real easy community question, number 108. So hopefully everyone's gotten that right. And we'll get another one out there soon. So I'm glad you can only see me or listen to us rather than smell me, because I'm doing a bathroom renovation at the moment, so I don't have a shower. So I'm glad you can't smell me, but getting out. If I get out in the golf course with you soon, stay on the other side of the fairway. I appreciate that. Appreciate your time, Stuart. Have a good week.
Of course, always. My pleasure. You too. Good to chat.
We'll speak soon. Thank you, everyone. Okay.